Hi, this is Rebecca Lord, and this is my VCT synthesis project. I redesigned the app for H2O Church. So a brief overview of what this presentation will look like. Just a little bit about H2O, the statement of the problem, the goals of the app design, the process of what that new design looked like, the results from it, and the lessons I learned. So a little bit about H2O. They were founded over 30 years ago, and they have now grown to become the second largest student group on campus, with over 600 students across 2 services. Their goal is really to engage the campus and the city of Bowling Green, to inform the people of the gospel of Christ, and to inspire our community to live like Jesus and change the world. So they have 2 Sunday services in a downtown location and an on-campus location, and they host 12 life groups that meet all throughout the week for students and for community members to meet up and just grow close to each other and learn about the Bible. So the problem is 2 years ago they developed an app as a way to reach and engage and connect with students. But students haven't really embraced this. There is a number of usability issues, organization, there's clunky navigation, kind of content, disparate features. There's a plethora of issues in this app, and my goal was to make that better. So the goals for this app really was to increase the H2O community involvement and engagement through this app. They really wanted to make it a way for students to come, to listen to sermons, connect with other students, do a number of things, and they really want this to increase engagement. They want to make it a seamless experience for users through the website, the app, the church, the various other marketing materials, the Facebook page, other social media. They want to make that a whole seamless experience, and this app is a part of that. And they really want to make it a way for students to feel equipped to further the gospel, to share their faith with others. They want it just to be like a hub for resources and for students to learn more and to dive in and really grow in their faith and share that with others via the app. And also they just want to kind of create excitement and awareness about this. So that's the 4 goals of this app design. The process that this took was I had to first define the problem, research it, ideate and brainstorm solutions, prototype it, and then test it. And I'll go into each one of those a little bit more specifically. So defining the problem, I really had to look into the current H2O app, and these are some screenshots of what that app looks like now. And as you can see, it's a lot going on. There's a lot of information, a lot of features. It's kind of confusing and cluttered, and I had to really dive into this and understand it more and figure out where the problem really was. And the problem was, okay, so we have all of this we have all these features and content. What do students really need? What do they use, and what do they want? I then had to go research. I looked at a lot of other church apps, figured out what information they had on it, the content they had, how they laid it out, how they formatted and organized, how they organized information hierarchy, what the look and feel was. Then I had to understand I had to talk with the H2O pastors and the staff to understand what their goals were for this app. And then I talked to the app developer to understand what the goal was behind the original app and where he was coming from and what his take and his perspective on was for the current app and where it could be improved and kind of the issues and the drawbacks of the current app and what could be made differently on the new one. And most importantly, I had to talk with the users. These users were specifically students who were actively involved in H2O because this app is specifically for them. It has resources, it has language, it has content that is specifically for those people who are a part of H2O and are actively involved in it. So I really had to talk with them, interview them, figure out what they like and don't like, what would be helpful for them, and how this app could help them and be a part of them and be integrated into their life. Next, I had to ideate. So I sketched out a lot of ideas on paper first and wireframes and figured out what this could look like. I spent a lot of time in this problem space, and then I moved into Adobe Experience Design where I created these wireframes. Next, I had to prototype this app. So still in Experience Design, I took those wireframes and made them into fully designed mock-ups with images, icons, and pictures and colors that would be used and represent the what the final app would look like. I used InVision to prototype it and connect the screens, and so these are some screenshots of what my original design looked like, and I prototyped with students and the client, and next I had some feedback from them. I had some really good positive feedback on the way it was designed and how things were organized. I also got some constructive criticism from the students, specifically on the word connect. Students didn't really feel like that was the right word for that, and it could have been made differently or called something else. I also talked to the client. Again, she reiterated how the information was organized much better. It was simpler. She liked how it was designed and laid out, and the color scheme and the fonts and logos used. She also recommended some things that I had originally left out, like the Huddle whiteboard feature and the baptism and stories features. Here are some screenshots of the current app as well as a final app design that I created, just to give you an understanding of where we are now and where we want to go with this new app. So the home screen, the current home screen here just is pretty bland. There really isn't a home screen at all. And I really wanted to make that different with the new one. So we added the social media front and center and the announcements that are on there, so students can easily see what's coming up and what events they can be looking out for. The Connect and Tools tabs, these were all separate, and there was a lot of information in these, as you can see, and a lot of these we didn't need. Some of the most important features were kind of tucked in the very last tabs, and we wanted to make it much simpler. So the new Connect tab is just one Connect with the groups and the discipleship shapes and the give, which I originally had, and my client also recommended having the leader administration, the event sign up, and the stories added to this. But even with 6 instead of the original 3, it is still much simpler, and students can find what they want easily and quickly. Here's some more screenshots. The student groups, which was a feature that students use a lot, that I found from my testing. Before, the student groups were not organized at all. They were all thrown together, really unorganized, hard to find the specific group and what they were looking for. And I designed it to be a filter, so you could filter by day or by group, and this made it a lot easier. So if you knew you were only free on Wednesday nights, you could look at the groups that are only available on Wednesday nights, or if you knew the group, you could search for it alphabetically. And finally, another feature that was added was the baptisms and the stories. My client asked that this be included in there because she felt the students did use it, and it was a crucial part of the H2O app. And so again, similar to the student groups, I put 2 tabs on it to filter by stories or by baptism stories, and students could quickly find what they're looking for through this one tab. So some lessons I learned through this. Understanding your users is a must. You are not your user, and so you don't know how they're going to respond, what they're thinking, how they perceive this, how they do something, and so it's crucial to understand your users first and talk with them and interact with them and empathize with them. And that's something I knew, but until I did this project, I didn't really fully understand. This experience really allowed me to grasp how much I didn't understand my users and how much work I needed to put in to really understand their goals and their challenges and their needs and what they want. Also, I found it was really important to spend time in the problem space before jumping into the software. So as designers, we really want to jump into Photoshop or, in this case, experience design, but it was crucial to just spend time understanding what the users want, how to design best for them. This required a lot of sketching, a lot of concept testing, just talking with users, thinking about what they said and how I could turn those observations into insights and use that to inform the design. And that kind of pulls into the next point, let the data speak. I had to look at the research to inform the design. I wanted to let my own personal beliefs and my assumptions influence the design, but I had to stop myself and look at the raw data, what users said, what the client said, and let that inform my design rather than my own personal assumptions and beliefs. I had to learn how to balance the client needs with the user needs. There were some things that the client wanted, but the user didn't really say that they wanted, and so I had to really figure out how to balance those, and that was tricky. And I had to keep in mind UX best practices as well as the technology we had available. And so sometimes those things clashed, but I had to figure out, okay, so what was most important? I had to prioritize, and I really had to think deeper about how I could organize information and the content and the design so it could accommodate for the user needs and the client needs. And finally, testing was a huge part of this process. You have to test, and I wish I had time to test further and further and further, because the more rounds of testing we do, the better design we have. And so I was able to include several rounds of testing in this, which really did influence my design, and I was able to create a better design because of the users and what they said. So overall, it was an incredible experience. I learned a lot. I was able to learn some things I had no idea, and I was able to put into practice some skills and things I learned in my own study and my own classes. So thank you.